Hi, and welcome to this AI in C# video on the Microsoft Agent Framework. Today we're going to revisit a topic that is old to me, but new to the Agent Framework, and that is agent skills. So agent skills have now an official implementation, while I, a couple of months ago, made my own implementation. So we're going to look at Agent Framework's new implementation and compare it a little to what I have, if I need to remove it again, or if the official implementation lacks some features. So let's get into it. And just a reminder of what agent skills are. It's a new format that is a complementary to MCP servers, again invented by Anthropic and open sourced on agentskills.io. And it's a simple and open format that gives agents capabilities and expertise. And it's mostly for local agents because it requires a folder structure. So for example, if you have a folder called Agent Skills and you add 3 folders, Employee Handbook, Secret Formulas, and Speak Like a Pirate. Each one of these needs to have a skill.md, that's part of the spec. And inside such a skill, you have a front matter up here, YAML front matter, that needs to have exactly the same name here as here in order to be a valid skill. Then you give it a description, and then you have an instruction body. And what happens is that LLMs and AI in general needs to get the simple description and name, and then on demand load the rest of the skill, so it doesn't cost too many tokens if not used. So we can just have a skill file, but we can also have extra files that can be reference files, other MD files, for example, assets in terms of pictures and stuff like that, but also scripts, in this case a Python script here. So the idea is that you have this folder, you load it up into the system, and then you take it, AI are gonna use it in various different ways. We will see how Agent Framework does it in 1 second. Because if we have a look, it's under AI Context Provider in my sample repo because it's implemented using that. And I have this test folder, as we just saw, with the Employee Handbook, Speak Like a Pirate, and a script for some secret formula. And the way Agent Framework have implemented it is they have a context provider called File Agents Skills Provider. And the only real thing we need to give it to it is a list of different parts where you have skills. You can give some options. They're fairly limited and quite buggy at the moment. You should be able to change the instructions prompt, but if you try to do it, it just doesn't add a prompt for some reason and breaks down. So there's some bug around that, but at some point it should be able to help you set the instructions. And once we have that, we don't need to do anything more. In my case, I'm just adding a little extra tool to run Python scripts, because that's not part of the spec that to be able to run scripts at the moment. A little more on that later. Also, to show this, I'm showing the raw call, and I'm doing tool calling middleware, because what happens behind the scenes is that agent skills are on the fly injected skills in terms of 2 skills, one to tell what skills there are, and or to read a specific skill, and another to go in and read resources for a skill. So if I run this, so before that I'm just getting an agent, and after that I'm just using a simple chat loop with sessions. So if I'm saying enter pirate mode, what we will see is that first of all, the call, we can see that on the fly instructions are being added, that it has these skills, one for each of the skills, the employee skill, the pirate skill, the secret formula skill, and so on. So this text is what you should be able to manipulate, but at the moment it doesn't seem like you can do that. Then we can see that what happens behind the scenes is we have a load skill function or tool, and we have a read skill resource option. So that's what is there, and we get our calls back and so on, and we see that we end up in pirate mode. We could also then say is parental leave paid, which is an AI HR skill. So here we are using one of the reference documents. And if we have a look again, we need to go down here. So here we used a read skill here, and it comes back. It also, if we try to call the secret formula with the Python script, it tends to not work. Read the secret formula, in that it fails because it can only give the relevant part to the script and not the real part. The relevant part is here, but it doesn't know where that is in relation to the rest of the system. So there's some limitations. I know they are working on script support. I don't know how they want to have script support specifically, but right now it's not really possible compared to my own setup here, where I have agent skills, the same folders, and up here we are using my interpretation of this, which is agent skills, where we can get the instructions and get them as tools. I also expose them as tools, one for what tools are available, and or 3 tools, what tools are available, read a specific tool, and read a resource. So I'm using 3 tools instead of the 2 tools for that. So let's do a little side comparison in what we can do in this. So the official implementation is here, and my version of agentskills.net, which is the NuGet package, which is also part of my Agent Framework toolkit, which is a set of NuGet packages on top of Agent Framework. So the new one is built in. It's from release candidate 2 and higher. And mine is a NuGet package that you need to install if you want to. The delivery method they have chosen is AI context providers, but behind the scenes they are essentially just injecting extra instructions and adding 2 tools. I do sort of the similar. I can do 2 generic tools, but I also have an option to have each skill be its own tool if you rather want that for more discovery. And then you can get the instructions back as text that you can paste in. So I'm not using AI context providers for this because I want to have more control here. Here we don't really have any control in that we can't really control the instructions, where they are compared to the rest of the instructions. And here we just get every tool no matter what. Here we can actually control it. So instructions are automatic in the official implementation, while it's configurable in my version. Logging wise, they have standard iLoggers, while I instead give a log error object back on which of the skills perhaps couldn't load. So that's a matter of opinion. You could put that into a logger yourself, but else they have more out-of-the-box logging. Then there's skill validation, if the skill actually follows the format. And it seems that they don't care at all. There is these rules, for example, that this name needs to be exactly the same name as this. You can write something different here and it will still load as a skill. I put in that you can choose the strict mode and get errors back if it's wrong, or you can go into loose mode. That is sort of what the official implementation does. Then a huge limitation they have is that you just get these skills and you just get these tools, but you can't really get them back as objects. So you're not in any way able to do a subset of the skills. It's all or nothing, and you can't get individual instructions if you want to use those together with some more curated parts of your instructions file. That is fully configurable in my implementation, because you get each skill back as a .NET object with all the information in it. So that is much simpler to do. Or you need to do a little more code, but you have more control over it. Another huge problem with the official implementation right now is that it doesn't give the subfile paths. We saw that with the script not being able to be run, because it just gives back the name and description, and when it reads it, it's only what's in the body of the markdown file. I add more, I give the body of the markdown file back, but then I also tell, and these files are available for this skill with the full parts. And that makes AI able to actually read and execute the various scripts and sub-assets. In terms of reading skill metadata, not really something that's too important, but you can have extra things like license and metadata on a official agent skill. The official implementation only takes out the name and description and use it, while I grab everything that you get back in the objects if you need to. Honestly, you wouldn't probably need this for anything at the moment. And finally, the ability to execute scripts. None of us actually have it because each script execution can be very different. How do you want to run your Python? What kind of environment? What kind of restrictions and so on? And how to run a bat file, how to run an executable and so on. You need to bring your own tools, in my opinion. Right now, in the official implementation, there's no support at all. You could bring your own tool, but again, the problem is the subfile parts that are not exposed to the LLM, which causes it to actually not be able to call it correctly. Again, they have an open issue that they want to enhance it with that, but I don't see a way they can actually make it easy and cheap token-wise as well. So right now, it is cool that they added it, but it's a very, very limited set of features that they give, and I'm really, really surprised that they don't even validate the skills correctly. So that is my review so far. I will definitely not use the official one yet when I have the other one. Because I'm simply just having much more level of customization here. But perhaps over time, the official implementation might add more features and come to a point where we can actually throw away third parties' skills like mine. But for now, I would definitely not use the internal implementation. So that's everything. See you on the next one.